My son called and said, "Mom, please come quickly. I'm in the hospital." I dropped everything and went straight there. But he wasn't there. When I returned home, my house was empty, and every valuable thing I owned was gone. Good day, dear listeners. It's Clara again. I'm grateful you're here with me. Please take a moment to like this video, listen until the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. I love seeing how far my story travels. For 63 years, I built my life brick by brick. My small house on Maple Street wasn't impressive from the outside, but inside it held everything I had worked for. The antique clock my late husband Robert gave me on our 20th anniversary. My grandmother's silverware that crossed the ocean from Ireland. The pearl necklace I saved for 3 years to buy myself after Robert passed away. These weren't just possessions. They were my history, my memories. Proof that I had lived, loved, and survived. I raised 3 children in that house. My daughters, Patricia and Susan, had long since moved to other states with their families. But my youngest, my son Michael, my baby, stayed nearby. Or at least, I thought that was a blessing. Michael had always been different from his sisters. Patricia became a nurse, responsible and steady. Susan taught elementary school, patient and kind. Michael drifted. One business idea after another, each one needing just a little help from Mom. And I helped. Of course I did. What mother wouldn't? A few $1,000s for a food truck that never opened. $5,000 more for a cryptocurrency investment that disappeared. I kept telling myself he just needed time to find his footing. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon in late October. I was preparing my afternoon tea, the kettle just starting to whistle, when my phone rang. Michael's name flashed on the screen. Mom. His voice sounded weak. Strained. Mom, you need to come. Please. I'm at St. Mary's Hospital. There's been an accident. My heart stopped. The kettle screamed behind me, but I barely noticed. What happened? Are you hurt? I can't explain right now. Just come. Emergency room. Please hurry. Then the line went dead. My hand shook as I grabbed my purse and keys. I didn't even turn off the stove. St. Mary's was 40 minutes away. I made it in 30, my mind racing through every terrible possibility. A car accident. A fall. My baby boy alone and injured. I burst through the emergency room doors, breathless. Michael Thompson, I told the receptionist. My son. He called me. Where is he? She typed into her computer, her face neutral. I'm sorry, ma'am. We don't have anyone by that name today. That's impossible, I said. He just called me. Please check again. She did. Then she checked once more. Then she called a supervisor. Nothing. No Michael Thompson had been admitted, treated, or even signed in. Maybe he went to a different hospital, she offered gently, seeing my distress. I called his phone. Straight to voicemail. I called again. And again. Nothing. A cold feeling spread through my chest. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I drove home in a daze, my mind refusing to accept what my gut already knew. I tried to convince myself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe he was confused. Maybe he gave me the wrong hospital. But when I pulled into my driveway at 6:47 p.m., I saw the front door slightly open. I never left it unlocked. Never. I pushed it open slowly. Hello? Silence. The living room looked wrong. Hollow. It took my brain a moment to process what my eyes were seeing. The antique clock was gone from the mantel. The empty space where it had sat for 30 years felt like it was screaming at me. I walked farther inside, my legs moving mechanically, my mind floating somewhere above my body. The china cabinet was empty. The silverware drawer bare. My jewelry box, gone. The television. The laptop Patricia bought me last Christmas. Even the good winter coats from the hall closet. I stood in the center of my living room, turning slowly. They had taken everything of value. Every single thing. Then I noticed something strange. My phone. The landline sat untouched on the side table. They had left it. With trembling fingers, I picked it up and dialed the number I had called countless times over the years, the number that once brought me comfort. Michael answered on the third ring. "Hi, Mom." His voice was calm. Normal. As if nothing had happened. "Where are you?" I asked quietly. "At home." "Why? Were you ever at St. Mary's Hospital today?" There was a pause. Just a moment too long. "Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry." False alarm. I thought I was having a heart attack, but it was just anxiety. "They sent me home before you got there. I tried calling you back." Every word was a lie. I could hear it now, the emptiness beneath his voice. "I see," I said softly. "I'm glad you're all right." "Yeah. Thanks. Listen, I've got to go." "Michael," I interrupted. "Did you rob me?" The silence that followed told me everything. He hung up. Of course he did. I stood there holding the dead phone as something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked. Like ice on a frozen lake. The kind of crack that spreads slowly, inevitably, until everything gives way. I sank onto the couch, thank God they'd left the furniture, probably too heavy to move quickly, and forced myself to breathe. In. Out. In. Out. Then I made a list. I had always been a list maker. Robert used to tease me about it. "Martha," he'd say, "you'd make a list for making lists." But lists brought order to chaos, and right now, I needed order. I walked through each room with a notebook and pen, documenting everything that was gone. The antique clock, estimated value, $3,000. Grandmother's silverware, irreplaceable, but insured for $5,000. The pearl necklace, $2,800. My mother's gold wedding band, which I had worn on my right hand since she passed, priceless. Robert's coin collection, $4,500. The laptop, $1,200. On and on it went. By the time I finished, the total came to roughly $31,000 in insured items, plus countless objects that held only sentimental value. But how do you put a price on a lock of your child's baby hair in a silver locket? How do you value handwritten recipe cards from your mother? I sat at my kitchen table. They had even left the table, and I felt something I hadn't felt since Robert's funeral 5 years ago, utterly, completely alone. But beneath the grief, something else stirred. Anger. Not the hot, explosive kind. Cold anger. Calculated anger. The kind that doesn't cloud judgment but sharpens it. My son had robbed me. My own son. He had used my love for him, my fear for his safety, as a weapon. He had played on my maternal instinct to get me out of the house so he could steal from me. And the question that wouldn't leave my mind, why now? Michael had asked for money before. I had always given it. Sometimes I said no to the amount, but I had never refused him entirely. So why steal? Unless, the amount he needed was beyond what I would give. Unless he was in deeper trouble than I realized. I tried calling him again. Voicemail. 3 more times over the next hour. Voicemail. 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 At 10 p.m., I called Patricia in Boston. "Mom, is everything okay? You never call this late." I could hear the worry in her voice. I told her everything, every detail. My voice stayed steady, factual, like I was reading from my list. Patricia listened quietly. When I finished, there was a long silence. Mom, she finally said, her voice tight with fury. Tell me you called the police. Not yet, I replied. Not yet? Mom. He robbed you. He's a criminal. He's also your brother. He stopped being your brother the moment he did this to you, she said. Patricia had always been protective, fierce when family was threatened. Call the police right now, tonight. And then what, Patricia? He goes to jail. He gets a criminal record. He's my son. He's a thief who manipulated and robbed his own mother. You need to act. She was right. I knew she was right. But something held me back. Once I called the police, there would be no going back. It would become official. Real. Permanent. The family would be irrevocably broken. Let me think about it, I said. Give me 24 hours. Mom, 24 hours. Then I'll decide what to do. She reluctantly agreed, making me promise to call the next day. After we hung up, I sat in the silence of my violated home and thought, if I called the police right now, Michael would be arrested. He might go to prison. And then what? The items would likely never be recovered. Already sold, pawned, lost. I'd get some insurance money, but not the memories, not the pieces of my life. And Michael? Michael would be destroyed. Criminal record, prison time, shame. Part of me thought he deserved it. But the mother part of me couldn't let go. What if there was another way? What if I could get my things back and teach Michael a lesson he would never forget? An idea began to form. Risky. It would require me to be smarter than I had ever been. But I had something Michael didn't: time, clarity, and absolutely nothing left to lose. I pulled out a fresh piece of paper and began to write. Not a list this time. A plan. The next morning, I woke at 6 a.m. sharp, just as I had every day for the past 40 years. Routine brings strength, Robert used to say. And I needed strength. I made my coffee black, 1 sugar, and reviewed my plan. Step 1, documentation. Everything official, everything on record. At 9 a.m., I walked into the Maple Grove Police Department. The officer at the desk, a young woman with kind eyes, looked up as I approached. I need to file a report, I said calmly. My home was burglarized yesterday. She pulled out forms and asked questions. Address, time of incident, what was taken. I answered each precisely, methodically. Do you have any suspects? She asked. Not yet, I said. Technically true. Her name tag read J. Martinez. She nodded sympathetically. Was there forced entry? No. I believe I may have left the door unlocked. Another careful truth. I had left it unlocked because Michael had a key, and I had trusted him. These things happen, ma'am. We'll send someone to dust for fingerprints, but honestly, most burglaries like this go unsolved unless we catch someone trying to pawn the items. I understand, I said. But I need the report for insurance purposes. She gave me a case number and a copy of the report. As I left, I felt the first piece of my plan click into place. Next, I drove to my insurance company. Janet, my agent for the past 15 years, greeted me warmly until she saw my face. Martha, what's wrong? I showed her the police report and my itemized list. Her expression shifted from concern to professional efficiency. We'll process this. With the police report, you should be covered for most of it. It'll take a few weeks to investigate and issue payment. That's fine, I interrupted. I'm not in a rush. I just need everything documented. Janet looked at me curiously. Most people in my situation would be frantic for a payout, but I wasn't most people. This wasn't about money. From the insurance office, I went to the bank. I withdrew $500 in cash, closed my savings account, and opened a new one that only I could access. Michael had known about my accounts. He had probably assumed there would be more to steal later. I was cutting off that possibility. Then I did something that even surprised myself. I drove to a pawn shop on the south side of town. It was the kind of place I would normally avoid, bars on the windows, sketchy figures lingering outside. Inside, a man with tattooed arms glanced up from behind the counter. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for information," I said, placing a $50 bill on the counter. "If someone brings in stolen antiques or jewelry in the next few days, do you keep a record of who sold them to you?" His eyes narrowed. "Lady, we run a legitimate business. Everything that comes through here gets documented." "State law." "I'm sure it does," I said. "But if someone brought in, say, a Victorian-era mantel clock or Irish silver cutlery, would you call me?" I slid another 50 across the counter along with my phone number. He looked at the money, then at me. "You a cop?" "I'm a grandmother whose home was robbed. I want my things back." Something in my voice convinced him. He pocketed the money and my number. "I'll keep an eye out." No promises. I visited 4 more pawn shops that afternoon, repeating the process. $500 was a small investment if it led me to my property and proof. By the time I got home at 4 p.m., I was exhausted but energized. My phone rang the moment I walked in. "Mrs. Thompson?" "Detective Chen from the Maple Grove Police Department. Officer Martinez asked me to follow up on your burglary case. I'd like to come by and examine the scene if that's okay." "Of course. When?" "How about in 30 minutes? Detective Chen was thorough. He dusted for fingerprints, inspected the doorframe, asked detailed questions. I answered honestly, careful not to mention Michael. As he packed up his kit, he paused. "Mrs. Thompson, the items taken were very specific. Valuable things, but they left electronics like the bedroom TV. Left the laptop bag, but took the laptop. Whoever did this knew exactly what to take and what to leave. Do you know anyone who's been in your home recently? Anyone who might know where you keep valuables?" My heart pounded, but my voice stayed steady. "My children visit sometimes. Friends from church. The plumber was here last month." He nodded slowly. "And you're sure the door was unlocked?" I may have left it unlocked. I sometimes forget." He didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. But he handed me his card. "If you think of anything else, call me. Anything at all." After he left, I sat down, hands shaking. The net was tightening, but not the way I wanted. I needed proof before pointing fingers. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. "Is this Martha Thompson?" "Yes. This is Ray's Pawn on 5th Street. You asked me to call if anything came in." "Lady, I got a Victorian clock here. Just came in 20 minutes ago." Young guy nervous as hell. My blood turned to ice, then fire. "Did you get his information?" I asked. "Yeah. License, everything. State law. Name's Michael Thompson." "Don't sell it," I said quickly. "I'll pay you double what you gave him." "I'm on my way." I grabbed my purse and ran. Ray's pawn shop smelled of old leather and desperation. The man behind the counter, Ray, I assumed, was exactly as I pictured. Weathered face, calculating eyes that had seen every kind of human desperation. "That's the one," he said, pointing to my grandfather clock, sitting oddly among guitars and power tools. Seeing it there made my throat tighten. "How much did you give him?" $300. $300 for a clock worth 10 times that. But that wasn't what made my hands clench into fists. It was knowing Michael had been so desperate, or so callous, that he sold his grandfather's clock for pennies. "I'll give you 600, I said. Ray studied me. "You said double. That's 600. But you know what? I like you. 500. And I'll give you the transaction record, a copy of his license, everything. Deal. He disappeared into a back room and returned with papers. There it was. Michael's driver's license photo, his signature, the date and time, yesterday, 3:47 p.m., while I was probably still at the police station. Did he say anything when he brought it in? I asked. Just that he was clearing out his dead mother's house. No offense. None taken. In a way, his mother was dead to him, or he was dead to her. Either way, something had died. I paid Ray, loaded the clock carefully into my car, and drove home. 1 item recovered. 30 more to go. But I had something more valuable than the clock, proof. I was photographing the transaction records when my phone rang. Michael. My finger hovered over the decline button. Then I answered. Mom. His voice was tight. Angry. What the hell are you doing? I demanded. I'm sorry, he stammered. Ray's pawn called me. Said someone bought back the clock I sold them. Asked if I wanted to reclaim it. Who else would do that? I asked quietly, trying to keep my voice steady. Recalled them. Probably policy, or maybe just stirring up drama, he said. Either way, the game's out in the open now. And did you think I wouldn't look for my things? I pressed. Those items were going to be mine anyway someday. You just needed the money now. There it was. The truth, finally. Not even an apology, not a justification. So, you stole from me? I asked. I borrowed, he replied, defensively. Jesus, Michael. Mom, you're so dramatic. It's not like you need that old junk anyway. That old junk was my history. Our family's history. Our family? I spat, incredulous. He laughed, bitter and harsh. You mean your golden girls, Patricia and Susan? They got everything. College paid for, weddings paid for, house down payments. What did I get? Michael, you need to stand on your own 2 feet, I said, voice rising. I'm not made of money. Well, maybe if you had helped me the way you helped them, I wouldn't be in this mess. The words hit me like physical blows. Was it true? Had I treated him differently? I helped you over and over, I said, counting in my head, the food truck, the cryptocurrency, the business ventures. How much have I given you over the years? Not enough, he shouted. Do you know how much I owe? $50,000, Mom. 50,000 to people who'll hurt me if I don't pay. My breath caught. 50,000? What people? Michael, what did you do? It doesn't matter. I needed money, and you weren't going to give me that much. So I took what was mine by right. Nothing in that house was yours by right until I died. I snapped. Well, maybe you should have died, he exploded. The words hit the room like grenades. Then silence. Horrible, echoing silence. Michael, I started, calm now, but my voice carried an icy edge. Don't, he muttered, suddenly small. Don't you dare apologize, I said, voice cold and distant. I don't care what you mean by it. Now I know exactly who you are. My hands trembled, but my words stayed steady. You have 24 hours to return everything you stole. Everything. Or I go to the police with the evidence I have. You wouldn't. I'm your son. You stopped being my son the moment you robbed me. 24 hours. I hung up. I sank into the couch, shaking, from rage, from grief, from the surreal weight of what had just happened. My own child, my baby, had wished me dead. Then my phone rang again. Michael. I didn't answer. It rang 6 more times over the next hour. I didn't answer. Finally, a text. Mom, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I'm scared. These people will kill me. I stared at it. The mother part of me wanted to cave, to help, to save him like I always had, but I thought of the clock sitting in my living room. One item recovered out of dozens. I thought of his words, maybe you should have died. I turned off my phone. For the next 3 days, I ignored calls, skipped messages, and focused on recovery, both of my property and my strength. I visited 8 more pawn shops, recovered my grandmother's silverware from one, found 2 of Robert's rare coins in another. I met Detective Chin again, showed him what I'd recovered, but still didn't name Michael. I'm making progress on my own, I told him. He looked skeptical, but didn't push. Slowly, in the quiet of those 3 days, something shifted inside me. The crack in the ice was spreading. Yes. But instead of shattering me, it was breaking away the weak parts that had enabled Michael's behavior for years. What remained was harder, colder, stronger. On the 4th day, I turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls. 32 texts, most from Michael, some from unknown numbers. I scrolled through his messages, watching his strategy evolve. The first were angry, "You can't ignore me forever. This is ridiculous. You're being childish." Then desperate, "Mom, please. I need help. They're threatening me. I'm scared." Then manipulative, "I'm your only son. Dad would be ashamed of you after everything I've done for you." That last one almost made me laugh. Everything he's done for me. The delusion was breathtaking. Then I noticed the unknown numbers. My finger hovered over the screen. I clicked on one. "Mrs. Thompson, this is Derek Stone, Michael's business partner. We need to talk about your son's debt. Call me." Another Michael had given them my number as collateral. They expected payment by Friday. My stomach twisted. He had given loan sharks my contact information. Listed me as a guarantor. Before I could process it, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw 2 men in expensive suits. They weren't police. They weren't friendly. I opened the door with the chain still on. "Can I help you?" I asked. The taller one smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Mrs. Thompson, I'm Derek Stone. We spoke on the phone, or rather, I left you a message. This is my associate, Tony. We're here about Michael's debt." "I don't know anything about Michael's debts," I said firmly. "That's interesting," Derek said, still smiling. "Because Michael listed you as a guarantor on his loan. Said you'd cover it if he couldn't." "He had no authority to do that," I shot back. "Maybe not legally," Derek said smoothly, "but morally. Family helps family, right?" His smile widened. "We know you recently received an insurance payout for a burglary, $31,000. That's most of what Michael owes. You pay us. We forgive the debt. Everyone's happy." My insurance hadn't even processed yet. How did they know the amount? Unless Michael had told them everything. "I'm not paying Michael's debts," I said, voice steady. Tony stepped forward. Not a smile this time. "Mrs. Thompson, we're not asking. Michael made promises he can't keep. That debt has to be paid. If you don't help your son, well, accidents happen. Nice neighborhood like this would be a shame if something happened to your house." The threat was clear. My heart hammered, but my face stayed neutral. "Are you threatening me?" I asked. "We're explaining reality," Derek said smoothly. "You have until Friday. We'll be in touch." They walked away, climbed into a black Mercedes, and drove off. I closed the door, locked it, engaged the chain, and sank into a chair before my legs gave out. This was worse than I thought. These weren't just loan sharks, they were dangerous. And Michael had led them straight to my door. My phone rang. "Michael." "Mom, did they come? Did they threaten you? What did you think would happen when you listed me as collateral, Michael?" I asked quietly. I was desperate. I thought I'd have the money by now. I thought. You thought you could sell my possessions, pay them off, and I'd never know. But you didn't get enough, did you? Because you sold everything for pennies. Mom, please. They'll hurt me. They'll hurt you. Just pay them. Please. Here it was, the moment of temptation. I could pay. Insurance money would eventually come through. I could save him, protect him, make it all disappear, just like I always had. No, I said quietly. What? No. I'm not paying your debt. This is your problem, Michael. You created it. You solve it. They'll kill me. Then go to the police. Tell them everything. They can protect you. And go to jail for the robbery, for the fraud. You should have thought of that before. I hung up. My hands were steady inside, though terror pulsed through me. Something had crystallized in those 3 days of silence. Michael had made his choices. I couldn't save him from the consequences anymore. But I also couldn't face this alone. I called Patricia. Mom, finally. I've been worried sick. I need help. I told her everything, the loan sharks, the threats, every detail. I'm getting on a plane tonight, she said immediately. Don't argue. I'm coming. Then I called my pastor, Reverend Williams. I'd been attending Maple Grove Community Church for 20 years. If I ever needed spiritual guidance, it was now. Martha, he said warmly when I arrived an hour later. What brings you here? I told him everything, the robbery, Michael's betrayal, the threats. I didn't cry, I was beyond tears, but my voice shook. Reverend Williams listened without interruption. After a long pause, he said, Martha, you've been carrying Michael your whole life, haven't you? I nodded. Sometimes, he said gently, the most loving thing we can do is let someone fall. Not because we want them to hurt, but because it's the only way they'll learn to stand. What if he doesn't survive the fall? I asked. Then that's his choice. You can't save someone from themselves. You can only decide who you're going to be. His words settled over me like a benediction. Patricia arrived that evening, fierce and ready. We sat at my kitchen table, drinking tea, planning. You need a lawyer, she said. And better security. And I need to finish what I started, I said. I need to get my things back. All of them. How? She asked. I smiled. Cold, determined. I'm going to give Michael exactly what he deserves. 2 days later, they came. I was ready. Patricia wanted to call the police at the first sign of trouble, but I convinced her to trust me. Cameras had been installed by her husband, Tom, over a video call. Everything would be recorded. The doorbell rang at 2 p.m. Through the security camera, I saw Michael, Derek, and Tony. Michael looked terrible, unshaven, hollow-eyed. The other 2 men looked calm, confident. Patricia stood beside me, her hand on her phone. 911 already dialed, finger hovering over the call button. I opened the door but didn't invite them in. Mom, Michael said, his voice thick with false warmth, can we talk, please? I want to make this right. You can talk from there, I said. Derek stepped forward. Mrs. Thompson, we came in good faith to find a solution that works for everyone. The solution is simple, I said. Michael returns everything he stole. You leave my family alone. We all move on. That's the problem, Derek said, his smile razor sharp. Michael can't return what he's already sold. What's done is done. But what's not done is the debt. $50,000. Mrs. Thompson, that number doesn't change. Then Michael will have to find another way to pay you, I said firmly. There is no other way. Michael exploded. Mom, why are you being so stubborn? You have the insurance money coming. You'll be fine. Just help me this one time. This one time? I felt my voice rise despite my attempt to stay calm. Michael, I've helped you every time for 38 years. Every failed business, every bad decision, every time you needed just a little help. When does it end? When you act like a mother, he shouted. When you actually love me as much as you love them. He jabbed a finger toward Patricia. Patricia stepped forward, but I held up a hand. Is that what you think? I asked quietly. That I loved you less? I know you did. You thought I gave them everything and left you nothing. I gave you the same chances I gave your sisters. They made different choices. Better choices. Because they didn't blame everyone else for their problems. They worked hard. They made sacrifices. They didn't rob their own mother. His face crumpled, but instead of remorse, I saw rage. You know what? You're right. Absolutely right. I robbed you. And you know what else? I'm glad. You deserved it. You and your precious memories, your precious things. I'm glad I took them. I hope they're all gone forever. The mask was off. This was who Michael really was. Derek, sensing the situation slipping, switched tactics. Mrs. Thompson, he said smoothly, let's be reasonable. You're, what, 63? How many years do you have left? 10, 20, if you're lucky? Do you really want to spend them in conflict with your only son? Do you want to die alone knowing you chose things over family? It was a clever manipulation, fear of death, loneliness, regret. I looked at Michael, really looked at him. Saw the selfishness, the entitlement, the total lack of remorse. This wasn't my son anymore. Maybe he never had been. Maybe I'd just been too blind to see it. I'd rather die alone, I said clearly, than live one more day being manipulated by a son who wishes I were dead anyway. Michael flinched. I didn't mean that. Yes, you did. And you know what? The feeling's mutual. The words hung in the air like a gunshot. Tony, silent until now, stepped forward menacingly. You're making a mistake, old woman. The mistake? Patricia interjected sharply, her phone raised, recording. Would be threatening my mother on camera, which you all have been doing for the last 5 minutes. Smile for the recording, gentlemen. Their heads snapped to the small camera above the door. Derek's smile vanished. This isn't over, he said quietly. Yes, I replied. It is. You have no legal claim to me or my property. Michael committed fraud when he listed me as collateral without my knowledge. If you contact me again, I will give this recording to the police along with my statement about your threats. Try me. Derek studied me, recalculating. Then he nodded to Tony. Let's go. We're done here. He looked at Michael with disgust. Your mother's got more balls than you do. Figure out your own debt. They walked away. Michael stood alone, abandoned by his allies. Mom, go away, he said. But they'll go away, I said quietly. He stared at me, cycling through anger, fear, desperation, hate. Then he turned and stumbled toward his car. I closed the door, locked it, and only then did my knees buckle. Patricia caught me. It's okay, Mom. It's okay. You did it. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt terrified. Those men were dangerous. Michael was desperate. What would happen next? Still, beneath the fear, something else burned, determination. I wasn't finished yet. The recording changed everything. The next morning, I took it to Detective Chen, along with all the pawnshop receipts, transaction records, and evidence I had gathered over the past 2 weeks. Patricia came with me. Chen watched the video 3 times, each viewing making his expression harder. Mrs. Thompson, he said finally, why didn't you tell me your son was involved? Because I needed to be sure, I replied. I needed proof. You put yourself in danger. I'm a 63-year-old grandmother. I've survived childbirth, widowhood, and raising 3 children. I can handle a couple of loan sharks. Patricia squeezed my hand. Chen leaned back in his chair. Okay. Here's what we have. Theft by Michael Thompson, clear evidence. Fraud, using your name as collateral without permission. Extortion and threats by Derek Stone and Tony Marchetti. He saw my expression and nodded. Yes, we know who they are. We've been building a case against Stone's operation for months. My heart leapt. So, you can arrest them with this recording? I asked. Absolutely. They were careless enough to threaten you on camera. We can bring them in today. And Michael? Chen's expression softened. That's up to you. You're the victim. You can press charges or not. I thought carefully. Michael in jail. My son in prison. I wanted to talk to him first, on my terms. Chen didn't like it, but he agreed. We'll be nearby. Wear a wire, just in case. 2 hours later, I called Michael from Chen's office on speakerphone. Mom. His voice was wary, cautious. We need to talk in person tomorrow, noon, at the house. I don't think you understand, Mom, I said. Michael, your friends Derek and Tony, they're about to be arrested. Extortion, racketeering, assault. They're going down. Your choice is whether you go down with them or start cooperating. Silence. Noon tomorrow, I repeated. Come alone. The next day, Patricia wanted to be there, but I said no. This was between me and Michael. Detective Chen would be listening next door. I'd be safe. Michael arrived at 11:57 a.m. I watched through the window as he sat in his car for 3 full minutes before finally getting out. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. I opened the door before he could knock. Come in. He entered slowly, scanning the living room as if seeing it for the first time. The clock was back on the mantel. The silverware in the cabinet. The TV he'd left had been replaced. You got them back, he said quietly. Most of them. Some are gone forever. I gestured to the couch. Sit. He sat. I remained standing. Derek and Tony were arrested this morning, I said. They're facing multiple counts of extortion, racketeering, and assault. Turns out they'd been running this operation for years. You're not their first victim, Michael, just the latest. His face went white. But my debt. Your debt was inflated. They loaned you $10,000. With interest and fees, maybe $15,000. They manufactured the $50,000 to trap you. That's what they do, they find desperate people and bleed them dry. I still owe the original $10,000, he asked. Yes. And that's still a legal debt. They operated without a license. The police are seizing their records. You won't owe them anything once this is over. Hope flickered across his face, then understanding. But I'll be charged with something else. Yes. The robbery. The fraud. Using my name without permission. It's all documented. I have evidence, witnesses, recordings. He slumped forward, head in his hands. So, I'm going to jail? That depends. I looked at him. I spoke with the prosecutor this morning. Cooperate fully. Testify against Derek and Tony. Return everything you haven't sold. Plead guilty to the robbery. They'll recommend probation, community service, mandatory counseling. Don't cooperate. And you're looking at 5 to 10 years as part of their criminal enterprise. He was crying now. Real tears. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. Are you sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught? I asked. He flinched. Both. I don't know how it got this bad. I kept making worse decisions, trying to fix the last one, and it spiraled. I couldn't stop. I sat down across from him. Look at me. He did, eyes red and desperate. You're not a child anymore. You're 38, a man who made choices. Bad choices. Criminal choices. You robbed your own mother. You wished me dead. Those aren't accidents or mistakes. Those are who you chose to be. I know. Do you? I leaned forward. Because for years, you blamed everyone else. Your sisters. Me. Circumstances. Bad luck. Never yourself. So, I need to know, are you actually sorry, or just sorry about the consequences? He was quiet for a long time. Then slowly, I don't know. I want to say I'm sorry for hurting you, but honestly, Mom, I'm terrified. I'm scared of jail, of having this record, of what my life's going to be. It was the first honest thing he'd said in years. Thank you for being truthful, I said. Here's the truth from me, I love you. I will always love you because you're my son. But I don't like you. I don't trust you. And I don't want you in my life right now. His face crumpled, but I continued. If you cooperate with the police, if you truly do the work to change, real therapy, real accountability, then maybe someday we can rebuild something. Not what we had, that's gone. Something new. Something honest. You'd earn another chance. I'm giving you a choice, prison or probation, honesty or lies, change or staying the same. What happens next is entirely up to you. He nodded slowly, wiping his eyes. I'll cooperate. I'll testify. I'll do whatever they need. Good. Detective Chen emerged from the next room. Michael jumped. Mr. Thompson, Chen said formally, I'm going to need you to come with me to give a statement. Michael looked at me one last time. Mom, go. Michael, I said firmly, make the right choice for once. He left with Chen. I watched through the window as they drove away. Patricia emerged from the kitchen. How do you feel? Empty, I admitted honestly. But clean. Like lancing a wound. She hugged me tight. The trial lasted 4 months. Derek Stone and Tony Marchetti were prosecuted first. Michael testified against them, calmly and factually, detailing the predatory lending, threats, and extortion scheme that had trapped dozens of people like him. I watched from the gallery, surprised by his composure. Maybe consequences were finally teaching him something. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Derek got 12 years. Tony got 10. As they were led away in handcuffs, Derek shot one last venomous look at Michael. My son didn't flinch. Michael's own trial was quieter, sadder. He pleaded guilty to burglary, fraud, and theft. The prosecutor, true to her word, recommended probation, but she did not soften her words in the victim impact statement. When it was my turn, I stood before the judge. Your Honor, Michael is my son. I love him. But love does not mean enabling destruction. He violated my home, my trust, my sense of safety. He weaponized my maternal instinct. Those aren't mistakes or lapses in judgment, they are the choices of someone who consistently chose the easy wrong over the hard right. I turned to Michael. He stared at his hands. I do not want him in jail. Prison won't fix what's broken inside him. But I do want accountability. Real accountability. I am asking the court for probation with strict terms. Mandatory therapy twice a week for 2 years, community service, random drug testing, and a restraining order keeping him away from me for at least 1 year. The courtroom murmured at the notion of a restraining order against a son. Michael needs to learn to stand on his own, to face consequences, to build a life that does not depend on me. The best thing I can do for him now is step away and let him grow up. The judge, a stern yet fair woman in her 60s, adjusted her glasses and looked at Michael. "Mr. Thompson, you are remarkably lucky. Your mother has shown you more mercy than you showed her. 5 years probation, 200 hours community service, mandatory therapy, random drug testing, and you will remain away from your mother until she decides if, and when, she wants contact. Violate any term, and you will serve the full sentence. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor," Michael whispered. "I hope you do. Because the next time you appear before me, and there better not be a next time, I won't be so lenient." Court was dismissed. Patricia hugged me as we left. "You did it, Mom. It's over." But there was one more task. I went back to every pawn shop, antique dealer, and consignment shop I had visited. With the police report and court judgment, I had legal grounds to reclaim anything provably mine that hadn't been sold out of state. I recovered the clock, the silverware, 6 of Robert's coins, 3 pieces of my mother's jewelry, and even the pearl necklace. It had been in a high-end consignment shop, too expensive for anyone to buy yet. What I couldn't reclaim physically, the insurance covered. Total payout, $28,000. I used it to upgrade my home security and set the rest aside in a trust for future grandchildren, Patricia's kids, not Michael's. I changed my locks, my bank accounts, and updated my will. Michael would inherit nothing unless he completed 5 years of therapy and remained free of criminal activity. My lawyer helped me establish clear boundaries: no financial support, no co-signing, no emergency loans. If Michael wanted a relationship with me, it would be based on honesty and mutual respect, not money. The weeks after the trial were strange and quiet. Sometimes I woke and almost forgot that everything had changed, then the weight of it returned. Yet, I also felt something unexpected: relief. For 38 years, I had carried Michael's burdens, his debts, his failures, believing that was what mothers do. I had been wrong. I hadn't been helping him, I had been enabling him. Now, for the first time, I was free. And he was free to become whoever he was going to be, with or without me. One evening, about 2 months after the trial, my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera, a habit I'd developed. Michael stood there, holding a small bouquet of flowers. He saw the camera and looked directly into it. "Mom," he said, voice thick with hesitation, "I know I'm not supposed to be here. I'm breaking the restraining order. But I'm leaving tomorrow for Arizona. There's a rehab facility there, 90 days. I saved up the money myself. I wanted you to know, and I wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I hurt you." He set the flowers on the doorstep and walked away. I watched him go. I didn't open the door. I didn't call out. Later, though, I brought the flowers inside and put them in water. Maybe someday there'd be room for forgiveness. But not today. Today, I was enough. My life was enough. That was victory. A year passed like turning a page. I hadn't realized how much energy I'd spent on Michael until I stopped. Suddenly, I had time. Energy. Mental space for anything other than worry. I joined a book club at the library. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since Robert died. Watercolors mostly. I wasn't very skilled, but my Tuesday afternoons were filled with color and conversation, and that was enough. Patricia visited twice a month, sometimes bringing her children. We'd have dinner, play board games, talk about everything and nothing. It was easy, uncomplicated, the way family should be. I renovated the house. New paint in the living room, a warm cream instead of the old beige. Robert's office became my art studio. The room that had held so many memories of his planning and dreaming now held my own. I could create my dreams there, for myself. The ladies at church threw me a birthday party for my 64th. Reverend Williams gave a toast to Martha, who reminds us that it's never too late to choose yourself. I cried. Tears of happiness, for once. My finances stabilized. Without Michael's constant emergencies, I could save. I built a proper emergency fund, even began planning a trip to Ireland with Patricia, to see where my grandmother's silverware had come from. Some days, I didn't think of Michael at all. Other days, I wondered where he was, how he was doing, but I didn't reach out. The restraining order had expired, but I maintained the boundary myself. Then, one Saturday, I ran into Helen Brennan at the grocery store. "Martha, have you heard about Michael?" she asked, lowering her voice. "He's living in Arizona now. Working at the rehab facility where he was a patient. He's a counselor. Helps other people with addiction and debt problems." I couldn't believe it. Later, I looked him up online. There he was, Michael Thompson, recovery counselor at Desert Hope Rehabilitation Center. His photo showed someone older, calmer, healthier. A testimonial read, "Mike saved my life. He understood what I was going through because he'd been there. He didn't judge. He just helped." I closed the laptop and felt something complicated in my chest: pride, relief, sadness that he had to go so far to find himself. But I still didn't call. Meanwhile, Derek Stone's life had gone a very different direction. In prison, he was just another inmate. His assets seized, his operation dismantled. His wife divorced him, took the kids, and moved across the country. Tony Marchetti fared worse, attacked twice in prison and hospitalized for months. The other victims of Derek's scheme filed a class-action lawsuit. Their lives were rebuilding. One woman, Sandra Kim, wrote to thank me, "If you hadn't stood up to them, I never would have had the courage. You saved me." I hadn't thought of it that way. I had only been trying to save myself. But maybe that's how it works: when you save yourself, you give others permission to do the same. One afternoon, I got a letter, Arizona postmark. "Mom, I don't expect you to respond. I just wanted you to know I'm okay. I've been sober for 14 months. I have a job I care about. I'm helping people who were like me, lost, desperate, making terrible choices. I think about you every day and what I did. I'm ashamed of that person. But I'm trying to be someone different now, someone you might be proud of, even if you never want to see me again. Thank you for not giving up on me by putting me in jail. And thank you for giving up on me enough to make me save myself. I love you, Michael." I read the letter 3 times, cried a little, then filed it in a box in my closet. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe someday we'd talk. But not today. Today, I had a painting class. Tomorrow, lunch with Patricia. Next week, my trip to Ireland. My life was full. Not perfect, but mine. And that was more than enough.